time, space, life, movement, change, transition, everything's happening in full circle. What's good, y'all? Bright Tape Podcast, back at it again. Deciding to learn a little bit from the lessons between my madness and chaotic breathing and my sporadic moments of learning how to get this podcast thing down properly. I'm working on it, y'all. Bear with me. No, I'm just kidding. In all fairness, man, hope everybody's doing good on this Tuesday evening. This is a live podcast. I usually throw links up in multiple places, but today it's been kind of just a day of days of just trying to get everything where I want it to be, how I want it to be on my own terms. Blind, sporadic OCD moments of just making sure it's all coming together. And so far, I must admit, everything is coming together full circle, and I'm enjoying it because this is something that I've been longing to do, and I know it's something that a lot of my friends who either have been listening or have taken time to listen know that I'm not going to stop doing this until I get it right. I'm doing things a little different, so if I sound like I'm far away, I'm not, but I am, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to bore y'all with a whole lot of blind and sporadic details, but we're going to go ahead and hop into it and let it do what it do. The first thing I want to get into is, and I guess this is going to kind of become my trend now, each week I'll be kind of giving a feedback or a follow-up on how quote-unquote good or how bad I did in regards to my fantasy league. I don't want to say, and before I continue, I'm going to go ahead and say this now to get it out of the way. I'm not going to say that I'm a ringer per se in a fantasy league, but anybody who knows what's considered to be easy game or just obvious opportunity of a failed moment with a stream. I'm sorry, not with a stream, but a failed moment with a fantasy league. I'm that guy. And I claim that position or claim that title solely because I'm good with numbers, but I'm also not good with players and injuries and statistical breakdowns that I probably would never even look at thinking about with some of these guys. So to kind of give you an overview of what occurred, week 1 for me was horrendous. Week 2 for me was just as bad. And I have no idea how week 3 is going to go because I really haven't looked at anything or really broken down who's playing who or what the stats look like. I've kind of kept things pretty much the same. For those of you who this may be your first time keeping up with what I have or who I have, I currently have Jameis Winston. I started him last week this past week for week 2. And I thought it would have been the best start, but obviously one job, one skill, one blown opportunity, and here we are. So I started him thinking that was the best thing in the world, but he kind of blew it for me, so it is what it is. LaShawn McCoy had somewhat of a decent game, but not the best game. D'Angelo Russell kind of was like my best option as far as offense went. If any other players that really made any major noise, I think the most that I got was with Russell Wilson. But of course, he was on the bench, so it didn't really benefit me in the long haul. One of my wide receivers, I'm not exactly sure of the name I can think of right offhand, but I went ahead and benched him or actually let him go because he really hasn't been giving me any numbers starting or on the bench. Still going through my struggles between Antonio Gates and Jimmy Graham, so I'm trying to see who's out there that's really worth picking up that can bring some numbers to my team, because a lot of it I've learned, and this is the key factor. I'm going to say this, and I have to remember this. Whether a team wins or loses makes not that much of a difference. It's more so about what statistical numbers they put up during the game that they're playing. So when a prime example a few years ago, the Saints played the Giants. It didn't really matter who won the game. A lot of fantasy owners won during that particular week because you had pretty much 2 of the top offenses going against each other. Same applied when Brady. I'm sorry, not Tom. Why do I want to say Tom Brady? Okay, I guess that's who I guess was supposed to be getting all the time and waiting for him to come off his 4-game suspension. But realistically speaking, I've learned that, like the game when it was a game Dallas played against I want to say the Colts. It was again, whichever team Peyton Manning was with. And I think this is when Peyton was with Denver. So I'm sorry, it's going to be Denver against Dallas. One of the highest scoring games in a while. And I mean, it was back and forth. It was literally a slugfest or like a gun show of just who could throw the most yards. If you had Romo, if you had any good wideouts that game, you got some good numbers. But still, I guess, like I said, each podcast I'm going to try my best, and you'll see it, to give what I call the Fantasy Chronicles. I will probably be getting rid of some players, probably be bringing some new faces in. Going to possibly go into the group chat and see who wants who, or if anybody has any players they want to get rid of or make some trades. It was kind of interesting because I played against somebody who had Cam Newton, so I was kind of in my feelings about that, because it was like I wanted Carolina to win, but I didn't want Cam to get the numbers he had. So it was like one of those 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other, but that's the way the game goes. So, like I said, I'll be giving my Fantasy Chronicles each week, and we'll just kind of see how that all plays out in the long haul. I'm looking at everything. Okay. All right, so, yeah, and you're going to hear papers ruffling, because instead of me let me pull up stuff and have everything tabbed off and all that, I just kind of was like, let me actually look at this stuff and kind of break it down in numbers. So, next topic I have, or the next discussion that I'm going to break down now, if you are following along based on my image, because I always make sure I put an image with my podcast, you'll see the images are on the image, like the pictures are in the image, but they're collaged. They're going to be collaged a little out of order, but I collage them out of order for a reason, and you'll kind of see why, because it makes sense for me. Don't ask. Because some things I have added, some notes I didn't even personally take notes on. It just was sporadic conversation and just kind of led to be, hey, this is a good topic to talk about. So my next topic is UEFA Champions League. I promised last week that I would get some information about UEFA. And if I'm mispronouncing it, those are my soccer heads who know me. You're more than welcome to chime in and correct me, because I am not the best with all of the soccer information. But that being said, a lot of your big names have kind of been having pretty good performances. Your obvious Bayern Munich, they're leading Group D. They were able to win their match. Atletico Madrid played pretty good. Manchester City won their game. Barcelona won their game. Now, I'm going to go over with you how the Champions League works. A lot of people who don't really keep up with soccer would probably be kind of foreign to this, so I'll give you a quick overview. What occurs is teams are grouped into 8 groups. Let me make sure I got that right. I'm praying it's 8. Please. Okay, yeah. So it's 8 groups that they're categorized into, or broken down into Group A through G. I'm sorry, Group A through H. If I learn my alphabet, it would be great. Anyway, Groups A through H all are randomly selected at the beginning of this particular league, and they all go against they all are placed in the groups. The top 2 teams from each group advance to the next stage, and then it's mostly set up in like a playoff format. So if you're in Group A, there are 4 teams in that group. You're going to play each team in that group twice. And however your stats come out when the group stages are finished, whoever has the most points, you earn your points based on your matches, which means if you win a match against a team, you get 3 points. If you draw with that team, you get 1 point. And if you lose, you get no points. You want to get points because the more points you have, the easier it makes it to get to the next stage. And you go through that until you get to the finals. Finals is 1 match, but before that, a lot of your matches are going to be what they call first leg and second leg, which means one game is played at your venue, the other game is played at the opponent's venue, and whatever the total points are between those 2 matches, whoever has the most points between those 2 games advances to the next round. If it does end up being a draw, most times it usually goes to sudden death, which will usually in turn means time to get some goals kicked for penalty kicks. And penalty shootouts are always interesting because you never know how they go. But like I said, Arsenal's been playing kind of okay. PSG, it's kind of coincidental because Group A, all 4 teams are all four teams drew, or everyone who played against each other drew their matches. So everyone's pretty much even in their division. In their group. Napoli is ahead in Group B. Group C, I mentioned earlier, Barcelona and Manchester City. Group D, Bayern Munich and Atletico Madrid. I got to cheat a little bit because some of these teams, when I was trying to print it looked like they wanted to kind of print the way they wanted to. AS Monaco, they're currently leading their division in Group E. Group F, Group F is an interesting group because you have Dortmund and Real Madrid involved. They both have 3 points apiece. Group G, Leicester, who's in the Premier League. And in Group H, currently, this is a new one because I always have to remember, is Olympic Lyonnais is currently leading that group. So we'll be keeping an eye on it. I'll make sure I get my UEFA information more in tune and more intact for future conversations we have regarding the UEFA Champions League. So I'll make sure that's all prepared. Now my favorite conversation of all time, because now we're going to break down the Premier League standings, or as everyone knows it as, the Premier League table. So currently your top 4 teams, let's see, there's your own files, okay. So I'm just going to kind of go over the top 6 teams are Manchester City, Everton, the Tottenhams, Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool. Last week, that was last Friday, thank goodness. Last Friday, Chelsea and Liverpool played. Anybody who knows me or keeps up with me when it comes to soccer knows that I'm a diehard Chelsea fan. I'm Blues, go Blues all day, every day. It originated uniquely because of the whole Samsung and that being their brand at the time, so I kind of stuck with Chelsea at the time. But now, even beyond that, I just like Chelsea as a whole. They've gone through some motion pictures with a few coaches. They won the Champions League. They won the Premier League last year, and not last year, the year before, because Leicester City just won it currently. And for whatever reason, Jose Mourinho is a very interesting character, and I'm gonna kind of jump around with this a little bit. But what I'm gonna do first is, before I give the Mourinho story, what I want to say is that they did have what I have just learned about today, which is the EFL Cup, which was the 4th round of the EFL Cup. Chelsea played against Leicester City. Initially, they were ahead 2-0. Leicester was, but suddenly, Chelsea was able to bring it back and tie the game up 2 apiece. And oddly enough, in extra time, Chelsea scored 2 quick goals. Actually, Fabregas scored two goals to kind of cap it off and get Chelsea to win in that tournament. So props to them for that. That was a big thing for me. Now, I just wanted to give that story, and then I'm going to kind of segue into my random story, which is about Manchester United and the love-hate relationship for Jose Mourinho. Mourinho, and I'm going to say this because I've been able to keep up with soccer pretty well, Mourinho is one of the most vocal coaches you'll see, but with that mindset comes the gift and the curse, which means there are moments that he can say things that can kind of motivate the team, and then he says things that kind of looks like he's just finding every way to tear down his team. And and this is kind of just a general tip of sports and life. The one thing that can help or hurt a team in any sport is chemistry. If there's no chemistry, it generates the most mundane things, and one of those things in soccer that you need to kind of function is trust. If I don't trust who's on my team, let alone who's running my team, then it doesn't give me much hope to know that we can go or carry ourselves to quote-unquote the next level. So because of that, Jose Mourinho, literally in matches that have been lost, has been throwing his team under the bus. And it's literally, in my opinion, it's shortening his coaching career in Man U. So I don't know what to expect or how this is all gonna play out, but I don't know. I'll give him this season. If it doesn't turn around or really go in a good direction, it can become very interesting. Because as of right now, and this is an added bonus to it. Right now, Man U is number 7. Now, anyone who understands soccer, you want to at least be in the top. Or I'm sorry, anyone who understands the Premier League, you want to at least be in the top 4. If you're in the top 4, you're in a good place. But when you kind of dwindle down, if you're in that mid space, that's fine too. The worst place you can be in right now, as most teams are, is in the last 4. And right now, the last 4 are Bournemouth, West Ham, Sunderland, and Stoke City. And what's so interesting about it is a lot of these teams who are in the bottom 4 are teams that either came up from, I forget the name of the league, but they came up from the England league, I think, I think that's the name of the league. If one of my soccer heads who knows will probably correct me on that, but they come up from that league and come to the Premier League, and then if you are in the bottom 4, you are relegated from the Premier League to that England league. And like I said, as the exact name, I'll probably have it for you all next week because I'm a knowledge. Anybody who knows me knows in particular when it comes to like knowing information and giving the right names for companies or for businesses or whatever it's called. So Mourinho just has not been doing it. But then one of their, I guess you can call them their OGs, Mr. Rooney, is 30. Wayne Rooney has been going through quite a share of his struggles. For some reason, he just does not, his passion off the pitch is not the same anymore. Now, granted, yes, Zlatan came in, Pogba came in. They came in and they got paid. They were going to get paid. Why? Because they're young. And if a team has a chance to build around anything helpful or beneficial, those are the guys to do it. For whatever reason, and I'm just going to say it, and if you're a Man U fan and you get in your feelings about what I'm about to say, then that's your personal choice, and I can't stop you from expressing how you feel. But I feel like Rooney is burned out. Rooney is burned out. Rooney is played out. Wayne Rooney now is nothing like Wayne Rooney was back when he was doing Nike commercials and getting the PR attention and the sparks and the flowers and the excitement and bells and whistles. It's not the same. It's far from different. And I mean, that's expected and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to be able to keep your career in somewhat of a stable place, if that's a good way to say it. It's no different than anybody who works a job. If you're just working a job and you're just there working, it's going to show like, hey, he's just here working because he needs to just get paid and keep a job. But after that point, when that point reaches where it's like you need to be challenged and you're taking that time or that willingness to challenge yourself, it makes the process a little easier. And I've kind of seen that with some players and with some individuals. So I have one other topic, and then I'm going to do my favorite, fun, most enjoyable part of this whole podcast, because I'm going to talk about it in a second. If you have the image of everything that I've discussed or gone over, you'll see exactly where I'm going with that. So I am going to talk about, and I kind of want to, I'm going to try my hardest to make this my last time, as of right now, really giving any conversation about Kaepernick, but it's a coincidental thing that things kind of happen the way they did, but it's just messed up. It's everyone who's been so currently Kaepernick had, they played against Carolina. He took a knee. He had one of the other players take a knee with him, and they, just went through the motions. Now, before I go into the situation of the story that happened on yesterday, I'm going to kind of give some minor background. There's some things going on. Kaepernick didn't play. Everyone's trying to question and wonder if he's going to play, what's going to happen, what's its status, what's the deal. Blaine Gabbert hasn't been having the best season so far. He's only played 2 games, but they're looking for him to be like phenomenal, dominant, on the ball, going hard, go hard or go home. They're 1-1, first of all. Number 2, Kaepernick is not 100% healthy, because everybody has this skepticism of, if the team falls apart or if it doesn't work, throw Gabbert out, put Kaepernick in. But a lot of people don't want to see Kaepernick play because they feel like he's being more of a media mogul and kind of taking away from the attention of the game. But it's like, the problem with the NFL that's going to be a constant that will never change for years to come is that they're more focused on the shield and more focused on the brand, because once an individual becomes either bigger than the game or takes attention away from the game, that becomes a problem. And that's literally what you're dealing with right now in San Francisco. Go back a few years ago, and I haven't heard much about him since then. Michael Sam, when he came out and admitted that he was openly gay, it was an impact on sports that no one really knew how to handle, because no one has that time or that energy to say, oh, well, how do we face a situation like this? No one knew what to do. And then it was kind of a double-edged sword, because what a lot of people don't realize, at Missouri, he was a talented defensive lineman or defensive back, whichever position he played. Sorry, it's been a while, and I know my differences, but I want to say he was a back. But when he got to the NFL, despite his personal role or personal issues, he didn't play up to par. And teams tried giving him a chance. They put him on practice squads, the whole nine, but he couldn't get past that line of getting out there and actually playing a game. Didn't matter if he was going to bump up against somebody and touch him. I mean, you think about it. Call this as borderline as you want to. Quarterback gets in a huddle. If he doesn't run shotgun, where is he standing? Behind the center. Hand is in the center's behind every play that he is not running shotgun. So it's the game. I mean, but if you're sitting there and you're worrying about someone being in that situation, and then, oh, we don't know how it's going to be with him showering. Listen, if a person knows that you are or aren't attracted to him, or they ain't attracted to you, it's going to be made clear from jump. Period, point blank. And that's non-sports, but that's just general know-how for those who don't understand that this ain't your dance. Like, just several, take it, have a seat. So, the story of that all trending, and I kind of went into my blind and random ramble, is that Kaepernick took a knee, and then it was tough because on Monday there was a situation that happened in North Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina. They're rioting, and it's a lot of chaos going on there now. And I'm sorry, I probably have the wrong article because I feel like a bad newscaster. But anywho, I'll go away from. So it's a situation going on currently in North Carolina, and that's probably not even anywhere near close to this. But there was an unarmed man who was shot by Tulsa police, and he followed proper procedure. He walked beside the car, hands raised, I'm innocent. And the toughest part about it is that situation happened on Monday. Today's Tuesday. All of the guys, all of the media heads who have given Kaepernick a hard time for everything he did, and all of this happening, everybody was quiet. And it's so interesting because it's just an amazing thing that we're giving him such a hard time for something that is not even affecting anyone. But we spend so much energy, and like I said, I'm going to rest this story. The only time that if you hear a Kaepernick story again on my stream or in my podcast, it's solely going to be due to the fact that I'm talking about the mere fact that he's starting or he's actually going to be playing. But other than that, I'm letting the story go because I feel like it's just a lot. And I think it's just amazing because there's so many big names of people who have talked, like Drew Brees, Tony Stewart. Dude, you're in NASCAR. Go race. Go turn left. Go turn left, please. Thank you. I appreciate it. Jim Harbaugh, Dabo Sweeney, Jerry Rice, Jerry Jones, Jay Gruden, Bob McAdoo, Jeff Fisher, Tony La Russa, Trent Dilfer. The names and the list goes on and on as to how many people have given him such a hard time. Now, these are all public names. We're not even talking about all the private people who have sent so many negative and outrageous, racist and pout-mouth tweets about something that is just not even that serious. Because if you really want to be technical about it, let's put it in. We'll put it in perspective like this, and I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get into my picks. If you work at a job where the American flag is raised, do you stop and say Pledge of Allegiance? Think about it. Do you really stop and say Pledge of Allegiance? Or do you even attempt to sing the national anthem? Or if you were to stop and do the national anthem, do you take your head off? Just think about those things. And I always come back to that because I feel like that's the part of the whole situation that is missed and not acknowledged. Is that everyone is pointing so many fingers at him for what he's not doing, but no one's taking time to look at why he's doing this or what he's trying to make us aware of. And I get it. Everyone doesn't want to be made aware unless it's on their terms and on their time. But some things have to happen. Like, good point, and it's a valid assessment, and I'm going to leave this alone and be quiet. October. Typically, everyone knows October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. To others, October has different meaning. It has to do with you can have suicide. It's different awarenesses that happen in October. Breast cancer awareness is not the only awareness that happens in October. We need to learn it and we need to understand that. For me, October every year, regardless of what I have been through or have gone through or will go through, will always be acknowledged as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I'm on a random conversation of tangent. I need to get more purple shirts, but that's another story. Anyway, so I just wanted to get all of that out there. Sorry for that spiel. I know a lot of you are like, okay, Brian, you said you were going to talk about sports, and you're sitting here having this major rant and rave about something that has nothing to do with sports, but it's kind of relevant, and anyone who knows me understands why. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into my favorite part of, my second favorite part of the podcast. So, like I said, I do Fantasy League Chronicles, and those are always like interesting because either it goes exceptionally well or horrendously wrong, and usually it's the latter of horrendously wrong. My picks, for whatever reason, and this time I'm going to actually write them, and I have my schedule so to help out even more. My picks are always interesting because last week was my first week doing it, so I unfortunately did not get to do anything for week one. Week one would have sucked already for me because I already know for a fact I think I had Carolina winning. I would have had Carolina winning in my pick, and of course they lost to Denver, so that was yay, good job. So week 3 schedule, I'm gonna kind of just coast through them, and what I'll do, name the teams, give you who I think will win, and we'll go to the next game. Houston at New England, Houston. Minnesota at Carolina, Detroit at Green Bay, Baltimore at Jacksonville, Baltimore, Arizona at Buffalo, surprise pick Buffalo, Oakland at Tennessee, surprise pick Oakland, Cleveland at Miami, Skins Giants, Cincinnati, Denver, San Francisco at Seattle, LA Rams at Tampa Bay, LA Rams, Jets at Chiefs, Chargers at Colts, San Diego, Pittsburgh at Philadelphia, Chicago at Dallas, Chicago. I'm really being aggressive with that one. Monday night game, Atlanta at New Orleans. So those are my picks. And just to give you a recap, like I said, last week I was 9-7. It was an interesting scenario because game 16 involved Philadelphia and Chicago. So if Philadelphia had won, I would have been 9-7. If they lost, I would have split even and been 8-8. My goal this season, fingers crossed, is to be above 60% with my picks. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to end it here, tiptoeing into my 30-minute window, and I know a lot of you are probably like, Brian, what did you really talk about? I don't even know. No, I'm just kidding. I truly want you all to stay blessed, stay positive, be uplifting to someone. Do not tear each other down. The more we tear each other down, the least likely we are to build up when it's all important. Until next time, I'm sorry. Poor social fail. If you are listening to the podcast, thank you for listening. If you are not listening to it live, you are able to go back. If you are listening to this episode, you can go back and listen to previous episodes on Spreaker. That's at Spreaker.com/BRYTAY podcast. If you came over from Snapchat at Bright82, thank you so much for coming in and tuning, checking me out. If you are on Facebook, I have Bright8 Podcast there. On Twitter, Bright8 Podcast. And trying to think what else I have. The most important one. Check me out on iTunes. I am definitely pushing iTunes heavy. Nothing against Spreaker. Spreaker is the reason I can post to iTunes. But iTunes is where the traffic is really popping. So if you're getting these views and it's being posted, if you're listening to the episode after it's been posted, thank you. Anyone who listens, please give feedback. I do check emails regarding my podcast, and that's at bright8podcast@gmail.com. So I hope you all enjoy your day, enjoy your evening, enjoy your week. Until next time, this is BT, aka Bright8 Podcast, signing out. Peace.